Welcome to Denteamology Live, where we're talking teams and its optimization through great leadership. I am your host, Dr. Becky Chen, and in this episode number 6 today, the very first episode for the year 2021, we are very fortunate to be hearing from Dr. Cigdem Kipel. She is going to be presenting a talk about why some teams do more. Now, Cigdem is the principal dentist at North Sydney Dental Practice, and she is also a very busy woman because she also happens to be the founder of Principal, which is a practice management software, and also LevelUp. So, Cigdem, welcome to Denteamology Live, and thank you so much for jumping on.
Oh, thank you. It's an honour. I think you and I had have so much in common with our interests. This was I was secretly hoping one day we could do this, so it's a great honour.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad and so pleased that you're on here tonight, and it's been super easy to, like, you already had an idea of what sort of topic you wanted to present, and that's the best thing because I'm super looking forward to this. I've actually had people private message me to tell me how excited they are about watching this. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you.
All right, so shall we get started? My understanding is that we are going to do a presentation for about 40 minutes. And then afterwards, we're open to any Q&As and things like that.
Yep, for sure. And I'll keep an eye on the time because I can blabber on forever. But yeah, we'll try and keep to that. And at the end, just have a conversation about the real world application of this.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's get this started. I'll get you to share the screen on your end first.
That's it there. Yep. Okay, that should load up in a second.
Got that there. Good. Now, what I will do, just for the purpose of this, I am going to turn off the little icon so that we can then see things a bit more clearly. It's not going to be in the way. So without further ado, let's get started.
Yeah, thank you. I picked this topic because I thought many years ago, I used to observe some of the practices and practitioners, some people who were just so far ahead of the level I was. And I saw that when I would visit their practices, say to observe a procedure, the dentist was so ultra focused on what he or she was doing. And there was like a whirlwind of stuff happening around them, but it was so subtle and so coordinated. And on the surface, it looked amazing. And I thought, if I asked my, practice manager to do that, she'd complain. She'd say it wasn't her job. And I just, now reflecting on that, think about what were all the things that I had to go through to make that a possibility. And, on the surface, it can look seamless, like a beautiful ballet production or something, but behind the scenes, there's a science to it, and it's not by chance. So I really have enjoyed learning about the subject of HR, about people. Some people hate it because it's a very wishy-washy, soft skill. It's not guaranteed. There is heartbreaks, tears along the way, but there is a science to it, and there are some like fundamental principles that we can work by to make it a reality and a possibility. So let's get cracking. Let me share the slides. So as Becky said, my name's Cigdem. I am the principal dentist at North Sydney Dental Practice. So we started with just, literally 3 staff when I joined, and now we're close to 25 now, actually, different staff members. And it's a big practice. There's 7 surgeries in our clinic. I love all things people and systems and operations. Anyway, so my partner is a software engineer, and with our powers combined, we thought it would be a great idea to start Principal Practice Management Software because we're insane. It's a lot of work, and I'm proud to say that in less than 3 weeks, we'll be launching the practice management software, which is sort of my passion project. It is basically like what a modern version of a really sexy piece of practice management software, what that would look like. Something super functional, something you'd expect out of 2020. And I was just telling Beck that LevelUp is actually a side project of ours. LevelUp is another piece of software, and that's specifically dedicated to systems and team training. LevelUp is basically having a course for how to work at your practice on a piece of cloud software, and a portal to train your team. So let's get into it. So I'm actually part of two very different teams. I love my dental practice team, and that's my comfort zone. It was a very gradual process. I've been at this practice since 2009. We've grown slowly. I love it. My other team, you can see they're a very different bunch of individuals. This is our software team. And I have learned a lot in the last couple of years with the team where I'm out of my comfort zone, and that's my software team. But over time, I came to realize that a lot of principles were the same around team culture, around trust, around accountability. It was always coming back down to that same fundamental thing. So they've actually taught me a lot because they've come from a completely different industry. Dentists have very operational based work, whereas project-based work requires a different type of motivation. We're motivated by that clock, the hour hand, ticking away. It's always minutes to something, whereas these guys have a really long-term project and require motivation in different ways. And it's far more collaborative, and it's a really interesting peek into maybe corporate world and project-based work. So that's been really interesting. So this is a little sneak peek of my team at North Sydney. That's us having a marketing meeting. That's our team having fun at a Christmas party. But there's all sorts of things that I'll share here, and I'm very proud of where we've got to. And this is my other team. So I'm going to share all the secrets. Oh, and this is just quietly there. This is Principal Practice Management software that's coming very soon. So you can see it's got a really modern interface. You can do basic things like, reschedule an appointment within a couple of clicks rather than our current 17-step process. At least we have a system for it. But, everything was about optimizing things that we do every day. So this was our primary goal with this, and to make something really intuitive and user-friendly. So that will be coming soon. Stay tuned. Okay, so let's get into it. I think one of the first things why some teams do more is one of the first things that these big teams recognize is that if you're working in a dental practice, the dentist is the bottleneck. And a lot of teams don't actually think about their workplace like that. We are the most limiting factor to how quickly we can do work or produce an outcome. It's our two hands and our time. So really productive teams recognize that because you're the limiting factor, their entire focus is about how they can redirect demands so that it's not putting demands on your little bottleneck. So watching literally everything you do, but you've got to build this into the culture, I suppose, into the expectations, is that they're watching everything you do and thinking about how they can relieve this bottleneck by creating little funnels or little holes where sand can poke through in different ways. They can do a different thing. They can do the account. They can do a treatment coordination thing. So these teams are really focused on getting you focused. So how do you get to that in the first place? Just a little video here. I'm sure you guys have seen this analogy a million times. I have, but I always come back to it. This is a Formula One pit stop. I think they say the record for, I'm going to say the record wrong, so someone out there probably knows it better than me, so they can maybe in the comments write what's the record for how quickly this tire change happens. But this team is entirely dedicated to getting the entire team ahead, and the entire team is the limiting factor is this driver. This driver has an important role, but everyone else has an important role. And what's happening at the moment in many practices, and certainly in the way I used to work, is me as the driver, I would actually stop here, get out of the car, and start helping change one of the tires. and that's just not the way we should be operating. So have you heard that analogy, Becky, lots of times?
Yeah, I've heard it a few times. So it's a very, very good one to come back to. I completely agree.
Yeah, I always come back to this one because here it's so coordinated and they're so well trained and it's so practiced and rehearsed. There's a reason why these guys are always ahead. So we have to start thinking of ourselves as that driver, not because we're more important or anything. We're just the limiting factor. So I think it's really important to elevate the rest of your team and say, if you don't do this, like I can't do my bit either. So the extension of that through dentistry is if we look at everything we do, like as, you know, things within a circle and start pulling apart what strictly only we can do is actually operative dentistry. That's the main thing. Strictly speaking, you can actually redirect or relieve that demand on the bottleneck by training all of these things. All of these things are trainable. Dentists, and again, I'm not saying I used to be this and I still, you know, I'm not perfect and I still probably I'm nowhere near as efficient as I could be, but a lot of us are control freaks. We want to we're perfectionists. We want to have control over the outcome. So we don't let a lot of things go until we have ultimate trust. But at some point you have to take a risk and you have to delegate and just trust that it will be okay, or trust that it won't be perfect. Actually expect that it won't be perfect, but that your team have to endure doing it imperfectly for a while so that you have the benefit of being able to delegate it forever at some point. So I pulled apart all of the things that I don't do anymore myself. I wouldn't even know how to do some of these things anymore, anywhere near as effectively as the staff that do them, because they become so skilled in them. And I'm really proud to say that, like, it just keeps my time really focused and efficient. So when you go back to work tomorrow, just start looking at everything you do and say, just challenge yourself to delegate one thing that really could be trained if only you took the time to train it. So just pick one thing. So, you know, even doing the pre-treatment consultation, like, come in, welcome. This is what we're doing today. This is what we talked about last time. Here are the photos. And I would literally walk in and say, all right, Christina's done that, you know, explain what's happening and I can get into it. So there's far less chatting. By the way, some dentists actually like doing some of those things. That's perfectly fine. Do it if you enjoy doing it. But I'm lazy and I got addicted to delegating now, so I like it.
Hey,
so,
Jen,
yeah.
do you mind if I interrupt you here? Sorry, I'm just being sneaky because obviously I know we've got Q&A at the end, but just going back to that slide there, and you've got a huge list of things that potentially could be given. I think that's a really good place to start. It's amazing what you've listed out there. How did you go from not being able to delegate to suddenly transforming yourself to get to that point where you could? What was that sort of process like for you?
Yep, it was not suddenly. It was gradually, one by one at a time. So it was like teaching someone else photography, getting someone else to write a system about it. It's like one thing at a time. The point where we hired our first hygienist and I stopped doing cleans. The point where one of my, I had an FTA, but I used that half an hour to sit down with my DA and show her how I want my notes written. It's like, it's very gradual and it's one at a time. So that's why I said, you can take this list and I'm happy to share it, but pick one thing and say, I'm just going to start on this. But because each one took months maybe to do. And every single one of these actually has a documented system now. So now it's not a biggie to delegate it, but that's actually something we'll get into later in the talk, is actually breaking down the how we get to this point.
Wonderful. I love that. Thank you.
Cool. So I'm just going to fast forward, but like when you do have a team that just treat the business as if it was your own, these are the benefits that that you can experience. So they are the ones. Imagine a team where they're the ones driving production, they're the ones looking at the numbers, they're the ones actually pushing for growth. Owners really think that they're the only ones motivated to do this. Why would their staff care? But if you get this bit right and get your team doing more, this is what the ultimate sort of reward is for the owner, because they're the ones upholding the expectations and the standards. They're the ones holding other people accountable. They're the ones actually doing your amazing recruitment process for you in the background, because there's an established process or a system. Imagine a place where other people are building your systems. Other people are actually seeking responsibility or saying, hey, I noticed you doing that. I can do that for you. Don't do that. Don't touch it. That's like amazing. Or this is my favorite, where they diagnose the inefficiencies in your practice. That's the dream. And I'm actually so proud to say right now, I love my team at the moment. I'm proud to say they literally do all of that on my behalf. But that's all happy and shiny on the surface. How you get there is a different story. This is my little analogy. That's just the tip of the iceberg, and below the iceberg is the reality of what it takes to get to that point. And there is a lot of pain and tears and heartbreak and effort and being vulnerable and breakdowns involved. So it's a long-term process, but that little peak at the top is the prize, and it's completely worth it. And I've written here a summary of everything that goes. I don't know if, Becky, the text is clear enough to read.
I think so. I can make it just a little bit larger now, I'll just remove our screens, just so people can see it for a little while, and then I'll go back to the other one later.
Yeah, so this, Becky, just scanning across this is like everything that you're about. These are subjects that you're interested in: delegation, leadership, emotional intelligence, defining clarifying what it is you want and need and what you expect, all of the mentoring and training that goes into this. That's what's happening in the background to make that top bit a reality. So we're actually going to be exploring these things in detail now. So this is why some teams do more, is because there is this stuff going on in the background. And yes, it's a lot of effort, but it's like a journey you go on, and then you have the benefit forever. It's worth doing. It's like people say, I don't have time to do performance reviews. I'm like, you don't have time not to do it. You will always be then operating that way. So I'm just a passionate believer in, you need to slow down to speed up. You need to, what is it? Jesse Green, he always says you have to change gears. You have to, when you change gears, you actually have to take your foot off the accelerator for a second and do it. Dentists are so busy, especially in the COVID year. Every dentist is like, oh, we're so busy, I don't have time to do anything, blah, blah, blah. Then you'll always be busy, and you'll be busy at that frantic rate. So we're going to get into it. So one of the things that I didn't talk about, and it was actually back on that list, is the things that happen beneath that surface layer is, I believe most dental practice owners or principals or leaders have to get it wrong first to then go through this journey of getting it right. I think I heard a little bit about your background, Becky, and you said you got into this leadership thing because of the challenges you had at the beginning. This is just a quote I heard somewhere, and I always remembered. I don't know who said it, but they said, if you want to be good at something, you have to be bad at it first. And what that really means is you have to tolerate, if you want to be an expert at something, you have to tolerate that phase where you're not perfect at it, where you're uncertain. There's a lot of doubt and everything floating around, but you just have to tolerate that period for some time before you can move through it. That goes for anything, like embarking on new clinical treatment. You just have to not know what you're doing for a little while, and that's okay. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the mistakes. We have to make some mistakes, and we have to make some bad hiring decisions before we have our dream team. Maybe not have to, but I don't know of anyone who's actually got an amazing team without having some story about some lessons they learned to get them to this point. So I believe that defining what you really, really want actually starts by experiencing what it is that you don't want. So when we hire someone today, we are so like specific. We've articulated so clearly what you want. And every little point I've articulated, it's because once upon a time, some crazy person did the opposite of that and broke my heart or upset me or just annoyed me. And I just never wanted to see that attitude or behavior again. And in a way, if that had never happened, I wouldn't have even known to have articulated that, because you kind of don't know what you don't know. So every bad hire gives clarity on the opposite of what it is you want and what you expect. And they let you define those ideal behaviors. So a really good one, and I think lots of people would have experienced this, is, have you ever had a hire that is they're really defensive when you give them feedback, and they just don't think about it the right way? Like, dental assistants especially, there's such a tight feedback loop. You give feedback frequently. If it's not the expectation that, hey, as part of this role, we give feedback super frequently, it's part of, like, it should, not only should you be good with receiving feedback, you should actively be seeking it. That's the kind of person we want. So if you're not that person, don't work here, because it won't go down very well. So we say these things because we've experienced the opposite. Speaking of the doing things wrong and making mistakes, I think it's really important to have the courage. Having an awesome team starts by having the courage to have some difficult conversations. I bet every single person listening is thinking of someone at their work where maybe they've been putting off a conversation because maybe it's not that bad yet, or they don't want to deal with it right now because it's too hard or it's awkward or whatever. But if you have the courage to do it sooner, this is the bit that will make all the difference. And I'll say this is probably the single biggest thing that's allowed us to have a really awesome team, is that my threshold for having that difficult conversation is so low now. Like, before, it'd have to be really bad before I'd have the guts to be like, oh, hey, this is awkward, but blah, blah, blah. Today, it's so clear. Well, we rarely ever get to that point because it's so clear when we hire what it is that we want and expect. But now I'll have these conversations way more confidently. Like, it doesn't bother me anywhere near as much. It's about being honest and respectful, but being open when things aren't right. And it's that gut feeling. And an extension of that is, this won't apply to everyone, but there are probably some people that just need to be let go. They're not part of your team, or maybe they're not in aligned with where you're going with now. Maybe it was okay in the past, but you're not going, the trajectory is different now for what you guys both want. So again, the saying, fire fast. Yeah. Hire, the one.
Hire slow, fire fast.
That's the one. Every single practice owner that I've ever met has said something along the lines of, I wish I had let that person go sooner. And it's all, I read somewhere that it's an average of 3 months. Like, if you think about the people that you did let go, they say that they wish they had done it on average 3 months before that they did. There is this fear, especially right now with lots of practices hiring. Practices are booming, so there's so many positions available. And there's not that many trained experienced dental staff out there. And there is this fear that I won't find anyone better. They're not that bad. What if I don't find anyone better? You have to let that go and really believe that if you make yourselves better, you will attract better people. They are out there. You need to guide them to you. And we're going to explore that now for the rest of the talk. So don't be driven by fear. Just let it go. And believe that the person you're going to hire is going to be at a minimum better than the person you just let go. So just do it and don't procrastinate. So now that we've done all our mistakes and had made bad hires and had tears and tantrums and awkward conversations and fired some people, now to build the right team, we have to be clear with ourselves what it is that we want. I see this slide all the time saying you need to be clear, you need to have clarity. What does that actually mean? It means actually sitting down at your computer for 10 minutes and articulating it into words. that's what it means being clear. Like there's an effort factor involved. I sat down with my co-principal Ben, and we're like, right, what's our dream practice? Where are we going? Like, what would our staff look like? Look like if they could be anything, and we actually had to articulate it into words. And it was maybe a prime course I did many years ago where they're like, define your vision and purpose and whatever. And I used to think that was so wanky. I'm like, what's the point of that? I get it now. It made a difference. So if you actually articulate it into words, it forms the basis on which you make every decision. Has to be true to that thing. Is it getting you closer to that thing? Every system is honoring that vision. So vision is like, what's your dream ultimate place? And write it down, because if you hire someone that's like meh, it's clear now that it's not getting you closer to that vision, then just let it go. It just makes everything simpler. It will be the foundation for every decision, every system, every new hire. Also put thought into like, what are your values? And all of my values at work, or our values that we came up with together, again, came about because we'd experienced the opposite of it at some point. One of our values is that we're dedicated to continuous and never-ending improvement. We're all dedicated to that. Don't come and work at our place if you're not 100% into that. So why did we write that? Because we experienced the opposite of it before and we didn't vibe with it. Defining your culture as well is something a little bit more positive and fun, I suppose. If it's this has actually come up a few times. If you actually take the time to write it, then when you hire, this is when it really shines. And then the extension of all of this is the details. So then start going down into what do you expect from your people? Practically, operationally, what do you expect? Which is your job descriptions, roles and responsibilities. And also, what are the, more than just, step-by-step systems, what are the performance standards that you expect? Like, what's the outcome of it? So when we write systems, and obviously we have LevelUp, which is a systems platform, but when we coach other people on how to write systems, you have to start with like the big picture purpose of this system. So an example would be, what is the purpose of answering the new patient inquiry in a very specific way? Why are we so anal about how it's done? It's because that is the bloodline of our practice. And if we don't have that, like, we don't have jobs. It is literally our path to doing our jobs. It's if it's not done well, nothing else matters. So we have to almost take a step back and write the purpose and of every system or policy or whatever it is. So they're all linked together. So what does this mean? Again, it means sitting down at your computer and starting to type. You do it yourself first, but then you also have to do it with the team. Okay, so you articulate your own thoughts first and write it out. Even the act of just doing that and typing it out will have a huge shift in everything that happens after that. So I used to think it was wanky and I just did it and it was amazing. So these are my systems at the moment. They were a few years ago, back in 2018, yes. When we hire someone now, these are just samples, but our expectations are so detailed now. So we talk about when you come in, we talk about what happens if you have an issue. We talk about how we give and receive feedback, that we are all dedicated to training one another. Someone on DPR the other day a dentist wrote, one of my DAs is refusing to train another staff. How do, they said it's not a part of my job. And I was just like, oh my God, like that is such a hard position to be in, to even, like, it's not a simple answer. It's like you need to rewind 100 steps. Like the expectations and the culture, that person expects that they can get away with that statement. That you should have never hired someone like that in the first place would be the easy way. But you have to go through that so that next time that dentist hires, to say, part of our culture here is that we have a culture of teaching and learning and mentorship, and it's expected that we would do it. And It should be something that you want to do to grow. And the person you hire will be like, I'm so passionate about teaching and learning. I would love to have growth, leadership opportunities so I can be the trainer. That's the kind of person you want to hire, so that conversation never becomes relevant. I know it's harder in real life, but if you set the expectations clear from day one before you hire them, then when they come in, it's just a totally different thing. Sorry, for some reason I was expecting the slide to change automatically. So your job as the leader is to unapologetically project your vision and your culture and your values and your expectations all the time. You're just projecting this. You're in everything you say, in every meeting you have, you're just shining the light on, this is our vision, this is where we're going. So you are the custodian of the vision. That's your job as the leader. What this will do is, if you're constantly shining a light so bright because you're so unapologetic about what it is that you want and expect, then the right people will be drawn to it and the wrong people will voluntarily self-select themselves out. That's what you want. You actually deliberately want to create this filter. It's a deliberate, natural filter. So it's to keep the wrong people out just as much as to attract the right people. So, I think I gave the example about people who aren't really good at receiving feedback, because you were so clear about the kind of how feedback happens at your practice. There's no way that they're going to be shit about feedback. Another one is about flexibility. Over time, I've actually noticed I've met some staff that are just rigid, or they don't adapt very quickly, or they don't like to be bad at something. You know how I said you've got to be bad at it first to be good at something? And I said, let's change this up. We're going to be crap at it for a while, but let's just endure that so that, for the greater good. So it demands flexibility and adaptability. And because I've had staff that just weren't, and now it's part of our culture, our values that we actually state. Becky, interrupt me anytime, by the way. Otherwise, we'll have a chat at the end.
No, it's all good. Yeah.
All good to keep going? So, what's easier? Is it easier to, if we want to build an awesome team, is it easier to just like secretly get rid of everyone on our team, just like start again, Control-Alt-Delete, and recruit better people? Or is it easier to work on our current team and build them up? Over time, I'm actually leaning more and more towards it's actually easier to recruit better from day one. It's actually both, but it doesn't matter because you have to do both anyway. So if you have an existing team that's used to you in your certain way and you want to go on this change, you want to learn about leadership and having an awesome team where they're just doing everything for you and they're proud to do it and happy to do it, you have to learn to do both. So recruit better and develop the ones you have, or change people. Can you change people is probably the more efficient way of saying all of this. Can you shift old expectations and mindsets? Let's start with the first one, recruiting better from day one. Every time you recruit, it is an opportunity to just raise that bar a little higher. So we have a rule at our practice that every single new hire has to raise our group average. If they don't, even if they're okay, we actually all agreed that if we're going to continuously improve, we should just say no. We should be more selective. And you know what? It meant for one period we were chronically understaffed for a year and a half. But I'm glad we did that because it was worth it, because they just do come. There are good staff out there. If you hire motivated people from day one, the energy output from you can be so minimal, whereas the energy output from you to try and motivate an unmotivated person is physically exhausting, emotionally exhausting. So there are good motivated people out there. You need to just set the bar a bit higher every time. When they come in or when you interview for them and you're there, because you've done all that clarity stuff, because it's all written down and you've got summarized versions of it, you actually have this as part of your recruitment process. And so you can say, this is what we're about, and you have to gauge their alignment and give them an opportunity to see if they're aligned with you and you're aligned with them. But it's so clear to you like, imagine if they did the same, if they were like, hey, this is what I'm all about. Does it align with you? And you're like, well, this is what I'm all about. Does it align with you? We have to be the ones to be the clear, the onus is on us to be clear. So we'll draw the right ones in, and we are deliberately scaring the wrong ones away. Our interview process at the moment is so hectic. I know it intimidates. It probably intimidates 4 out of 5 people. That's okay. That's that filter that we deliberately set up because I only want top performers and blah, 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 because we got to that point now. And it's like super gradual. So how do you attract high performers? So we said they are out there. You have to stop doing what everyone else is doing. We have to write more catchy ads, find out where they are, talk to more people, ask your staff. Some of our best hires have been internally through our own team. And put yourself into the position of a top performer. Say you're a front office, you work at reception, you're experienced, you're a really good people person. First of all, why would you leave? You might be not challenged enough. You might have a really good relationship with your old practice, but you might be looking to just go to that next level and go to a place that's ultra organized and structured and going to give you growth opportunities. So if you put yourself into those shoes and just project only the things that only top hires would want, what they want is to see that you are going to be the place where they can grow. You offer structured training programs. You actually dedicate time to it. You have systems in place. You have like a training program and a schedule. It's like they're kind of going to do a course at your practice on how to become a leader or a manager or something like that. You have to say that we have, so if they quit their last job because they didn't have the support, maybe you have to say we are ultra supportive, but actually do those things. So I see a lot of ads talk about the practice from their kind of like it's an egocentric point of view, but just put yourself into the position of a top performer and go, what is it that they would want and why would they even leave a good place? So I always think like, what are we offering them and how are we impressing them? When we when we hold interviews, we walk around and we're like, all right, everyone on their best behavior. Under no circumstances can this new hire see how we really are. We have to be like 30% better. Everyone does their hair. When they walk in, they're treated like VIP. Welcome to the practice. It's so lovely to meet you. I'm Jessie. Would you like a cup of sparkling water? And that person's like, oh, I'm here for an interview. I thought I was selling myself. But actually, if they are the top hire, we have to attract them. They have to be like, oh my God, that practice was so standout. Because a good hire is going to be offered every job interview that they go for. You have to give them a reason that it's going to be you. This is an extension of this. So good recruitment is not an accident. If we have person A, person B, and person C, and person A is the absolute top hire, and we've got practice A, B, and C, top performer, medium performer, and meh, that first person is going to get an offer from all 3 practices. The last person will always end up working for the meh practice. The middle person will usually end up in the middle one, and that top person is always going to end up with that top person. So it's not like throwing them in the air and let the chips fall where they may. It's not luck. It's there are good people out there, and they're not picking you. I had a couple of interviews years ago, and we found 2 excellent staff members, and they actually. At the time, I was like, yeah, I think they're good enough. Let's offer them a job. And they had already accepted positions elsewhere. And that's when I was like, shit, what did we do wrong? It was all about us. We had to make ourselves attractive to them. So now it's purely the other way around. We're just like, it's all about you. It's all about making this job attractive to you. So then that's how one by one you start recruiting top performers. Now, there are some downsides to having ultra motivated people, but it's totally worth it. Ugh, motivated people, right? Jokes. So our recruitment process is systemized. Everything we do is systemized now because I love it. It took us years to build. It's one at a time. It gets refined all the time. It is about sitting down at your computer for half an hour and just articulating what it is you do and constantly improving it. So we have systems for how we place an ad, how we write an ad, where we post it to, how we conduct the in-person interview, what are the questions that we ask. It literally starts with step one, ensure everyone is on their best behavior. We literally order new flowers, we get them a gift, we like things that are just, they wouldn't expect. It seems above and beyond and a bit silly, but it's so like kind of surprising that it's memorable, right? So we have all of these systems on our LevelUp. So how we onboard them, how we do all the other little things, like how we hold team meetings, what are their job descriptions. So it's all there, and you can just do this yourself by just typing it out and working with your team. So let's say we've held some interviews, we've got an awesome team member on board. The next part of it is the induction and onboarding process. They've agreed, they're amazing, they're in line with your values, you've already told them your vision and mission and all of that, and they are on. So even that first day or their offer letter, all of those little things matter. It has like a disproportionate impact on their future sort of work life with you, because they're setting the expectations from zero. So as I said, we need to set the bar high and set the expectations high. If I have to ever work with a new DA, it's just a little bit higher, like the standard is a bit higher. So when they would come in, I would say, so normally I would expect that you do this, and maybe secretly my old DA didn't really do that. But now that I'm growing and learning, I'd say, so normally it would be your job to do blah, blah, blah. But they come in being like, okay, that's my job. And then it's not a thing anymore. Whereas if I try and introduce new things to my old DA, they're just like, you want me to do what now? Yeah, so it's just easier if you cover everything. Onboarding and induction program is about leaving no stone unturned. It's about deliberately sequencing what they're learning. One, so it's not too overwhelming. And two, it's like you're just building up those stepping stones on how to get better and better. Otherwise, it's so unstructured and disorganized. Dental staff do like a couple of hundred different tasks and activities. A DA knows how to do a bajillion things. And it's all about like detail, and there's so much involved in it. If you don't have like a proper training program that covers literally everything, you'll finish there, they'll be fully experienced in a way longer time, because then you're just waiting for the procedure to come up that you rarely ever do, that then, you know what I mean? Like it's if it's ad hoc, it's just not structured. And also, like I said, really good motivated people want that structure. So we have to step up and do it. So that's about the recruitment side of things. How do we, build a winning team? We can recruit better people. But how about developing an existing team? This is your current staff members, the ones who were reluctant, resistant, and they have the attitude of, what, you want me to do more money for the same pay? That I've heard so many times. That's more maybe a projection of your fear, that's how they'll perceive it. But it's also, the onus is on you to couch it completely differently, so they don't see it as, more work for same pay. You have to couch it as, this is the vision. This is why it's going to be good for you as well. This is my passion. Are you with me? And I want to empower you to do, or to dictate where we go, or we have to do it together. It's way more attractive and inspiring to say something like that than to dictate changes that are going to happen without getting the buy-in of your team first. So how do you develop an existing team? This is all about gaining their buy-in. It is easier said than done. How you gain their buy-in is basically, what have I written here? Define the why. Number one, you've got to start with the basics of, where are you going? Like, why are you doing all these changes? Why did you go listen to a webinar and then come back the next day and say, Cigdem's nurses do this. How come you don't do it? You have to couch it in like a way that is like, imagine if we were the premium practice that specialized in this, and we had 1,000 5-star Google reviews, and we were the go-to place for this treatment that we all love doing, and we could grow to be this, and we could also have, and I'm not afraid to say, like, if we're more profitable, that we could all share in this as well. Imagine if we could be that, and then we all break it down. So we're projecting our vision and say, and you have to be honest and vulnerable and say, look, it's really hard for me to embark upon this journey of work that needs to happen, but I can't do it. I can't do it alone. I can only do this if we're all in together. And I'm here putting my hand out, like, we're about to go team, but like, I'm here extending my hand and making myself vulnerable. And I believe that you guys will be in it with me and prepared to do what we need to do to get there, because otherwise we're just going to be stagnant, and all of the challenges that we've lived, it's just going to be the same. So are you prepared to make some changes, to be uncomfortable, to walk into the unknown, so that we can reach this greater work life for ourselves? What will happen is the right ones will be like, I'm all in, I've got your back. And the wrong ones will be like, roll their eyes and probably start looking for other work. And that's what you want. You actually want to deselect those people, because you now know how to hire, because guaranteed your next hire is going to be better than that person or more in line. So every time you couch a new idea, just like thinking about hiring from the perspective of how do I attract the most high-performing performer, and put yourself in their shoes. Every time you couch a new idea, you have to put yourself in their mind frame and think, what's in it for them? Why would they want to do it? So rather than being like, I want to have a really profitable practice, you have to say something like, imagine if we were in a place where things ran so smooth and we rarely ever had challenges, and we had an hour lunch break together, and we had team bonding sessions, and we had fun, and we could trust each other with delegation, because we all know how things are done. Are you like, we're now saying what's in it for them rather than just thinking about ourselves. And then we also have to get them aligned and ask them their why, their purpose, like what they want out of work. What do they want to grow? Do they want to challenge themselves? So I'm going to share with you in a second a team alignment exercise that you guys can do. But defining the why of where we're going, that's your job. But the how of how you're going to get there, and these are your detailed systems, processes, what you're going to change, you have to do this collaboratively together. You cannot dictate. That was one of my big mistakes. I tried to systemize everything myself, and I was just dictating to the team what to do, but I didn't gain their buy-in first, and it didn't work. They basically just kind of ignored me. I went back with my tail between my legs, and I was very vulnerable, and I said, guys, I'm sorry that I seem like a micromanaging control freak. I just have this vision, and I clearly didn't go about it the wrong way. Can I actually get your opinion on how to get there? Because unless it's coming from all of us, there's no point. And they totally had my back and stepped up. And that was maybe 5 years ago. So we're going to do a collaboration exercise, because number one, you're saying, if I let you dictate the systems, or I'm going to let you write the process for how we do things, what you're saying is, I trust you know better than me how to handle telephone conversations. You know better than me how to do manage a complaint, or do a clinical process. So what I do now when we write systems is I just define what is the goal or the big picture, and I let them work out the details. And I say, I trust you to work out the details. So if I want my DA to write notes and my DA has never written notes, I will say, look, I want the ultimate purpose of this to be at 6 p.m. that we all leave, including me, you, and everything's done because it's been done in a structured way, and that we're able to see more patients because I'm not taking 10 minutes after each appointment doing this. How can we actually get this done? And so they know the big picture and they write the process. Another one is, maybe an example is staff meetings. Is I want staff meetings to run really effectively. I want what we discuss to be really followed up on. Otherwise, we waste time talking about ideas and it never gets followed up, or there's no accountability. So I said, I want you to create a structure where it's like, this is how our team meeting is run, and this is how we guarantee accountability with the action items that we discussed. And so they filled out the details of that. And because they did it, I don't need their buy-in. They're the ones that created it. People automatically have ownership and responsibility for the things that they came up with themselves. So I don't have to sell it to them. And also, creating systems or creating really, really clear goals gives people pride and fulfillment, gives them wins. Like, they don't know if they're winning if there's no clear, like, yay, we got all our notes done. Yes, we did everything that we said in that meeting. Yeah, so I think I've probably made myself clear on that one. So we just have to sell it first. We're dentists. We sell like horrible dental treatment to people, so we can sell anything. A little team alignment exercise that everyone can do, and I really love this. We did it with our team. These are real. I don't know, Becky, if you want to expand this. I don't know if maybe it might be too small to read, but these are this is like an exercise we did with our team where everyone got on their phones and used like a survey app called mentimeter.com. I think it's free for some basic version of it, and basically you can put a question out there and get people to submit anonymous answers. So we rewrote our purpose at one point, our purpose and our vision, and we wrote things like, why do we exist? What is our purpose? And all of those answers actually came from staff. You know, we said, what makes us stand out from the rest, or how could we stand out from the rest? And they wrote all of these answers. These are just like the top few. There were so many more. So we deliberately picked these questions to get them thinking and articulating in words, because this is how you gain buy-in. You ask the right questions and get them to say it. What do you like most about working here? Free coffee. That was a joke answer, or maybe it's real. Free coffee is always good. But this was a really easy thing to do. This was actually that very day out. So our team were all surrounded in the office room, and we were, you know, having this cool team meeting. And at the end of that team meeting where we did this Mentimeter alignment exercise, there were a few little motivational, inspirational things there. This is some inspirational quote that is pretty cool. And I was so proud of this team. They were so inspired that all of them just got their phones out and took a picture of the inspirational quote. And I was so inspired that I had to pull my phone out and take a picture of everyone taking a picture. So your job as a leader is really just to motivate and inspire people. I know that sounds lame, and yeah, but it really, we have such a go, go, go job. There are only limited opportunities where you can slow down and talk about the big picture things, because how they felt after this was totally different to how they felt before they walked in the meeting. And this is how you get a team actively wanting to do all those things, because we've said we want to stand out. We said we want to, you know, be the best, or whatever those answers were. So we rewrote our purpose based with a mishmash of everyone else's ideas, so that it wasn't my dream or my purpose, but it was, I could truly say that it was ours. So that was pretty cool. Last few things. How am I going for time? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to speed it up and smash through the last little bit. But some practical tips now on how you get your team really inspired and wanting to do more. Get your staff to do the teaching. Everybody is a trainer, no matter how junior their level. When you work at our practice, you are committed to passing on what you've learned to someone else, even if you're a noob at it. So these are just some slides of different people, not me, doing talks and presentations on a subject. It could be one's about photography. The other one is about airflow. The other one is about smile design. Another one is about a marketing idea, or how we can get more patients doing this, or whatever it is. So we pick a subject I think we're holding them every 3 or 4 weeks. We set aside 2 hours, and we have someone in the team dedicated to doing the talk. And young junior staff will be like, I can't do that. I have a fear of public speaking and whatever. And you just kind of support them through it. And everyone's so encouraging. They're like, yay, go Christina. Christina might be 19 years old, you know, so nervous and thinking, I can't do this. But how empowered would she feel going, I taught my team and I taught my dentists how to do blah, 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 because they trusted me to share it with my team. It's the exercise of showing like, I trust you to do this. It makes them feel amazing and important, and they are important. So yes, empower all of your staff to be leaders themselves and foster this culture of mentorship. So teaching and learning is a must. So I think we just touched on this earlier, but think about everything that you do and only what you can do, and start teaching. So you need to leverage the capabilities of your team so they do more and more. So the difference between super highly successful practices is like they just have more of their team doing more of your work that you used to do. And in the beginning, like when you're a new dentist, you do everything. You take all your own impressions. You might even do your own pour-ups, blah, blah. And that circle just organically gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But you have to actively work on spending time to teach. So as I said at the beginning, these are all of the things that I do not touch now. So the question you ask is, what tasks and responsibilities can be done competently by someone else only if you took the time and effort to train them? It's like a one-time effort for a forever reward. It's like the gift that doesn't stop giving. So systemize your practice. How do you do it? You basically define it, you type it out, and you teach it. But you have to start with the why of each system, and you have to sell it to them from the point of view of what's in it for them. So define it, document it, teach it is the basic way. So anyone can do that. If they do it themselves, so you start doing it, but then eventually they start doing your systems and protocols for you, and constantly upgrading them as your practice evolves. It's too much to do it by yourself. And if they do it, they have immediate ownership of it. How do you start? It's so daunting. You're like, how do I start systemizing things? You just start with the first thing. I think a really great thing to systemize is maybe your first new patient appointment, how that should run. I think that's something that should be fairly standardized, or how you recruit, or just pick one thing and go at it from there. I think we have like 200 and somethings in our systems in our real practice, because they're just ultra detailed now. I only wrote like a small handful of them. I can't do it by myself. And now I've learned the power of not micromanaging and getting them to do it. People will say, I do not have time to write systems because my practice is so busy with patients. It is the single greatest return on investment that you could get, is spending 30 minutes to actually document a process. It's the active thinking about an efficient way to do it that will forever change how you do it, because you're going to do that thing 1,000 times over. It's a one-time effort for a forever gain. I just can't stress that enough. If you're too busy to do anything, you will always be too busy in frantic life. So you have to make a change. And literally, I just assign 30 minutes a week to everyone, or as things come up, or as we adopt a new process. We just started dental monitoring a few months ago. The first thing that happened is we wrote a LevelUp system on it. And eventually, as you build these systems, you develop a training schedule or a training manual or a training program. So this forms part of your onboarding. So everything that your DA would ever do is like documented into a sequenced kind of list, I suppose, of your training goals. High performers love clarity. They want goals to fulfill. They want wins. They want structure. They want organization. If the same person came to a practice that had that versus a practice that didn't, the first practice is always going to have that higher. Yeah. And finally, yes, this is the training program. This is our training program that we have. The first week is really detailed, and then it goes week 2, week 3, week 4. And I think both of these are an 8-week training program. So front office and DA. I'm probably very happy to share this if anyone wants for what I do, but every single one of these dot points is a system in our LevelUp. So it's about leaving no stone unturned, and building accountability into the training program, so that like it's expected that you would do it. Someone follows up with you. There are dates set. Have you done it? Is it being ticked off? Why not? Okay. Or you can use mine. So part of LevelUp is I've pre-written close to 100 systems that I use. Obviously, every practice is completely different. So I've written generic versions of some, and some of them are templates that you can use to build your own, like how to write your own vision, or how to, I don't know, how to write ordering and stock control. What would a system like that look like? So I've written the template around it, and you can fill in the details of yours. So LevelUp is a subscription-based platform where every one of your team has a user account. And it's basically your practice manual on the cloud. At any time, you can search any system. You can tick off when you've competently been trained in it, or you can see who the mentors are or the trainers are for each system. So I've pre-written 100, as I said. So I've included all of those for every LevelUp user. Everybody knows the benefits of systemization. For you, the benefits are obvious. You can scale. It's more productive. It's better experience. You can attract better staff. You can hire. You can onboard people faster. But it doesn't matter what's in it for them, your team. You're selling it to your team. You have to say, everyone can be on the same page. You can grow. There's like so many growth pathways in our systems protocol that you can upskill in management. You can upskill in HR. You can go into the front office. So you got to sell the idea of systemization to your team. Less stress. That's a good one. Oh, last couple of slides, Becky. Is that okay?
Yep. Let's do it.
Sorry, guys. Just shut me up. Just like have a buzzer that goes. Effective team communication is also how we get our team doing more, because we have these communication opportunities. So this is my pyramid of communication. At the bottom is our everyday, multiple times a day communication. So we use Slack at work to communicate everything that's happening, because we have 25 staff. There's a lot going on. We have different channels for different things. So Slack is just like WhatsApp on roids, and much, much better. There's a really awesome free version of it. So we have channels like called the management channel, HR channel, a channel for just staff meeting ideas. So everyone can just type it in, and dedicated channels to reception, etc. So we can communicate everything at any given time. And on our Slack, we actually do awesome things. Like if we get a really positive Google review, a staff member will be like, hey, go Ellie, check out this review, guys. And everyone will like thumbs up and put a GIF on.
Here's a result from search.
That's Google talking back at me. Second way that we communicate in our team is our daily huddles. Then we have weekly one-on-one catch-ups with every staff member. The managers do, maybe not me directly, but your immediate manager will have a one-on-one catch-up. It's a 10-minute thing. Then we have our monthly team training meetings where we're all teaching each other a new subject. We run team workshops maybe 2-3 times a year, where it's maybe more like a half-day thing. And then once or twice a year, we'll do a little getaway. So we'll hire an Airbnb and do team bonding, fun stuff. So every single one of these communication opportunities is like a chance to reproject your big picture, your good vibes, why you work here. You're just continually inspiring them to say why you work here. They say other people should want to poach your staff, but you need to give them a reason to stay with you. Everything has a process. The morning huddle has a process. Let's go to the next one. Regular one-on-one catch-ups have a process. So this is something done with a manager. It's just 5 or 10 minutes. We give immediate feedback, happens usually here. We'd never wait for the staff performance review to give a new piece of feedback. It's pretty immediate. The catch-ups are about accountability. Like, how are you going? How are you going with your training schedule? Do you need a little bit of coaching? Do you have any feedback for us? If you formalize the process a little bit, your level of effort in that will be matched. So if you come into this meeting with like a list of things, like last week we spoke about getting you more confident with this procedure, how are you going, blah, 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 then they'll meet it. They'd look silly if they didn't take it seriously like you were taking it seriously. So that's been awesome, to having catch-ups and staff performance reviews. Staff performance reviews are also an opportunity to get someone inspired. All of them should be, if they're a staff member you like and you want to keep, it should be one of the most uplifting, meetings that they ever have, where they feel like, yes, I'm on a path, I'm excited for the future, I feel appreciated, I have a plan, a growth plan for my next phase of where I'm going to be working on. Obviously, it's a different story if it's like a bad performance review, but I won't get into that now. But remember, good staff leave their jobs because they don't feel appreciated. They feel that there are no growth opportunities, or they're immediate one up. They don't get along with their manager, or their manager probably, just watch your managers. They have to be really good as well. Not just in performance reviews, but as a general rule, always go out of your way to appreciate good behavior, like, or a desirable thing. Specifically spell it out, like say, oh my gosh, I loved how you did that. I love how you took the patient away from me and said, come with me, I can take you into the next room and do this because you recognized I was running late. That was so helpful. Thank you so much. Because every time you recognize and appreciate good behavior, you guarantee repetition of that behavior. So I let a lot of annoying things go now. It's okay not to, like, I don't bring up every single one, but every time a good thing happens, I go out of my way to say it. So yes, last 2 slides. The downside of having motivated people is they always want to grow. Oh, so annoying. So you have to always step it up and be better. And you have to be a better leader because they will leave. So I learn about leadership and emotional intelligence because I'm secretly afraid that my good staff will leave. And I want them to say, I work at Cigdem's practice because I love working with her and she's inspiring and whatever. I don't know if they really say that, but I have to make myself good for them because I have to give them a reason to stay with me. Why would they stay? So because they need goals, they need places to grow, you have to constantly be investing in them. You have to take them to workshops. You need to keep them upskilled. So after every performance review, there is an actionable plan that keeps them fulfilled, like they're working towards something. And we have such regular one-on-one catch-ups. There should be no surprises if they were not feeling quite right. And I think that's it. Yep, show appreciation in the way that they want to be appreciated, like appreciate the different personality types. Some people want to be told, other people want, cuddles, workplace health and safety, be careful, but they need to be shown appreciation and felt that way. And you need to celebrate your wins as well. Like, actually, when you've done something awesome as a team, spell it out. Yeah. Do team bonding stuff. These are some of the many courses that we've gone on, dinners. It's worth it. And I'm just finishing up on some of the don'ts and like the things you should avoid is don't avoid having uncomfortable conversations. Don't forget to show appreciation and, at the end of the day, go home and forget about it. Text that staff member, thank you so much for blah, blah, blah. Just do the little things. Don't not do systems. Don't have nothing there because that's just not attractive to the top performers. Don't try and do something without getting their buy-in first. Have accountability always. Hold people accountable. Actually say what you're going to do. They should know that you've got the courage to say, hey, we agreed on this. What's up? And also, like, have a training schedule. Don't leave things to chance or have it ad hoc. So that whole talk was really about what's underneath this iceberg and all of the things that go into having a team that do more and more and more and actually want to do stuff for you because they're motivated, they're inspired, they like each other, there's systems in place, they know that they're doing your job. So think about your dream practice and think about all of the skills and attitudes that you would demand that they have if they want to work in your dream practice and start writing them. Or take my system. So LevelUp, if you want to sign up or check it out, you can go to levelup.dental. And this is a real, I don't know if you can see that video, but they are all the systems that you'll get included. So it starts from about $69 a month, and then you start just building your own training schedule. So every time you hire, this is where they live. You can have your own videos, and that's what we're doing now. We're filming everything. So it's like doing an online course, and you can create different pathways for different parts of your business. Okay, so it's just about that, leaving no stone unturned. Thanks for putting up with me, guys. I tried to be quick, and I'm sorry that ran a little bit late, but you can keep in touch with me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, or if you're interested in checking out LevelUp, that's the website there. But you can do all your systems without LevelUp, and I think take away all of those principles without it too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. That was a brilliant presentation. So much information in there, and I think you've just presented it so perfectly. It's all very well thought out and structured. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. I crammed a lot in there. Sorry about that. You don't need to put this talk on like 1.5 speed because I'm just like, ah.
No, it's fantastic, Cigdem. Hey, we got a little bit of time for Q&A. Hopefully you're not in too much of a hurry. I know we've run a bit over time, but maybe even if we just have 1 or 2 questions, is that okay?
Of course.
We've just got one here that's come up. I'm just going to quickly pop this one up. So someone's asked, are the dentists part of the systemization?
Yes, if it's relevant to them. So if you want to systemize a process, so say you want to systemize the way you do, what do we do today? Oh, when we do IV sedation, there's actually a sequence of things that need to happen around the appointment and before and after, and like it's almost like a checklist. If you want to systemize something, you need to pick the most appropriate person and delegate that task of writing out the system to the most appropriate person. So sometimes it will be the practitioner. So it could be a clinical procedure. What did we systemize? Dental monitoring. I don't know anything about that. Or like our perio protocols, our OHTs did. They have a periodontal protocol. This is what they do if they diagnose this. This is when they refer to a specialist. This is our 8-week program. These are the item codes we use. This is when we would get a dentist's input. They wrote that because they're the most appropriate. So certainly for if it's a clinical process, or Ben did one the other day called we got a new furnace, how to operate the furnace and fire an Emax crown. So yes, I absolutely get them involved.
Excellent.
Or we rewrite ours, our existing systems are constantly evolving. So the way we do new patient exams now is totally different. So as we get more dentists on, and we maybe vary our treatment planning a little bit, we get them to rewrite or we write it together. In LevelUp, when you write a system, there's a review phase. So you delegate it to someone, and once they're done, it has to go through one more review person. So that could be your manager or your principal, and that person just verifies that it's all good, and then it uploads into your official practice manual.
That's great. Fantastic. All right, there's another question here. It says, Cigdem, you have 200+ systems in your practice. There are 70+ on your website. With this gap, can you shed info on what you have specific in your practice?
Yeah, so this would be, so the ones that I wrote, I literally wrote them from best practice protocols. The 200 in my practice were written by every single other staff member, and they're just super detailed, specific things like the plaster trap is located behind the lower left cupboard of the right steri room or whatever. So they're just, I guess, more detailed versions of what I have. So the 70 I have there might be one called, how to bond veneers and tray setups and the procedure. But then in our real practice, we have them so detailed, like how to do internal bleaching. So I wrote the really broad, common, general ones, and the super rare, detailed practice-specific ones you will build on. So every practice probably has hundreds of systems. Whether they're written down or just in your head, you are doing things a certain way. It's about getting everyone doing it the same way. So you have that quality control in your output of your service. So it's just more details, I suppose. Oh, and one thing that there will be more coming out. I think we have more OHT ones, so about hygienists and how they work and hygiene protocols. We have way more detailed infection control ones. You can go to the nth degree with infection control, but I also have lots that aren't in my regular practices one. So that belongs to our practice, and that's written by my team. I didn't want to take theirs. Mine's better.
Of course it is. All right, some positive feedback. Someone really loved your talk. It was inspiring. Thank you so much. We're going to wrap it up from here. And yeah, but thank you so much. And of course, you know, for everyone that's watching and listening, if you want to get in touch with Cigdem, there's 3 different methods there to sort of get in touch with her. And I'm sure you'll be happy to answer any other questions from this live in Denteamology.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cigdem. You have a great night. See ya.